You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
On today's Total Wellness Tuesday, this show has been quite a while in the making. I've gotten asked this question actually for, I would say, over a year, and I apologize that it's taken this long to put together a full show on it. But I'll tell you this, I have answered this question. I always answer all of my questions every single weekend on the Cabral House Call. And of course, you can just go to stephencabral.com/podcast for all the back episodes. So although I have answered this topic for everyone that's asked, I've always wanted to do a specific show on it. But when I was putting it together, when I was really just thinking about it, and again, for me, putting together a podcast is really just about mulling it over in my mind, thinking about the main concepts that I want to talk about, but then just really letting it flow. Because what I want you to kind of just experience what it would just be like just sitting across from me, us having a conversation, because that's really all this is. I'm the same exact person in my practice as I am right over the podcast. And the reason I do it, and then the reason why I do it like this, is because I want people to understand that they're going to get the same advice just from a simple, straightforward, uncomplicated manner, whether I'm working with them in person or over Skype or whether it's on the podcast. And that's my job. My job is to take all of these really complex ideas and medical science and research and say, you know what, for the average person, why would they ever want to read this? I love to read it, but they don't. They want what's actionable. And I understand that. Just like at the end of the year, and I have my fitness studio and we have the wellness center and then we have the online. It's just like all these big, business stuff, none of that I want to deal with at all. And I just say to my account, here you go. Like you deal with this. I don't want him to get into complicated tax type speak. That's just not something that I don't even want to know about. What I wanted to know is the bottom line. Okay, what do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do. And I kind of feel like that a lot of times when I'm doing the Cabral Concept, is that I want to give you the education behind it, no doubt about it, because I want you to know that when I'm giving you the action plan, like what you need to do, I also want you to know why I'm asking you to do it. I think that's really important. I've always done that in my practices. I don't want you to blindly trust me. I want to tell you why this is important. Okay, so let's get into today's topic now. Today's topic is really on fertility, infertility, getting pregnant, and healthy pregnancies. This is really, really important. Of course, really near and dear to my heart because within the last 5 years, I have there's three of boys in my family and one girl. So basically I have two brothers and one sister. That's probably an easier way to say it. But I have sister-in-laws, I have a brother-in-law, and like everyone, it's remarkable. But there are 10 kids now under the age of 5 within my kind of family and extended family, which is pretty remarkable. So having said that, I've gotten to work with sister-in-laws, I've gotten to work with my own wife and really just helping them have as best of my ability, and of course theirs as well, because I'm just the messenger, as healthy a pregnancy as possible and really healthy kids. And that's what it's all about, because it's about keeping the woman healthy. It's about making sure the kids are healthy, but also, and I spoke about this on last, I believe it was episode 520 on the Cabral House Call over the weekend. And it was talking about guys with low testosterone and low sperm counts and why that is. So I want to get into all of that today. It's not just for the women, it's also for the men. And also men, even though we're talking a lot about women's reproductive and hormonal health, this is important for you to listen to because you might have a spouse, you might have a partner or girlfriend or whatever it might be, and you might have a sister or someone that needs this information as well, okay? So let's get right into it. I want to take it right from the beginning. Thousands of years ago, and I would even say just hundreds of years ago, it was always known there was supposed to be a prenatal diet, a perinatal pre-natal diet and a post-natal diet. Okay, natal being basically pregnancy, and pre being before you get pregnant, and peri being during, and post being after pregnancy. We're going to talk about that today. This is almost never talked about. Actually, I've never heard really anyone speak about it on a podcast or anything, but certainly I've learned it somewhere, and I read it in books. This was big in Ayurvedic times, but also I actually learned this first from traditional Chinese medicine. I believe I was in Boston at the time, and this was before I had my doctoral degree, but I was certainly really just studying with as many people as I could. And I was seeing an acupuncturist. And he, for whatever reason, we got on the topic of how certain foods were always used for cleansing and detoxifying the body before a woman got pregnant. It was essentially a heavy metal detox and liver detox. And then during pregnancy, the fortification-based diet as well. And then post-pregnancy as well, eating things like black chicken or things, and that's just what they call it, but they're essentially high in iron and they're blood builders. And we're going to get to those in just a moment. But starting with the prenatal diet and prenatal regimen, I'm going to give you exactly what I recommend. So now, the first thing we have to start with is, what if there's an issue getting pregnant? Why is that? What do I see in my practice? 8 to 9 out of 10 times. Why can't women or men get pregnant? And here's the reason why. We have so much stress in this country, so much stress. And a lot of times we're not even aware of it. And I'll tell you why. It's become a part of just who we are. We work nonstop. We stay up late. We keep lights on at all hours. Our circadian rhythm is completely broken. And because of that, we end up producing more cortisol. And cortisol is that stress hormone. Now, why is that important? And again, I've spoken about this before. What happens is not so much that it creates estrogen dominance, but what happens is that it creates low progesterone. And the reason why it creates that low progesterone is that as cholesterol is being funneled through the steroid hormone pathway, it becomes pregnenolone. And when it becomes pregnenolone, it essentially has two choices. It can move over to the anabolic pathway, which is more of the DHEA, estrogen, testosterone, androstenedione, androstenediol, any of those. Or it can move over to the progesterone cortisol pathway. Now, it would be great if it can stay balanced, but the problem is our bodies are used to dealing with survival-based situations. And in those survival-based situations, the HPA axis, called your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, turns on. Okay? It turns on to a very high degree. And your body starts producing things like ACTH, norepinephrine, adrenaline, and then glucocorticoids, which is essentially cortisol. When we produce these things, namely cortisol, what is it made from? It's made from progesterone. Essentially, progesterone is one chain higher than cortisol, okay? Progesterone does have some intermediaries, and for the health practitioners out there, that's 17-hydroxyprogesterone and 11-deoxycortisol. Now, eventually, though, the progesterone, over a period of time, because the body's been stressed for days and weeks and months, the progesterone ends up getting depleted. Okay? Now, is it completely gone? No. There's no disease-based state. But what happens is this: from a functional level, from a functional biological level, there isn't enough progesterone to be high enough during the luteal phase where implementation could actually take place, and that pregnancy can hold strong for the first 6 to 12 weeks of that first trimester. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more, unfortunately, miscarriages. We're seeing less of an ability to get pregnant, and we're seeing more IVF than ever before. And don't get me wrong, this is directly related to stress and the next topic, detoxification. Because the other thing that we see is that women's bodies are not in the capacity to even get pregnant. And that's because there are too many environmental estrogens, there are PCBs, there are plastics, there are all sorts of things in their body, and this is where it gets really, really important, that have to be removed before a woman gets pregnant. Now, do they have to be removed? Well, no, you can still become pregnant, but what happens is this, and this is in my new book as well, coming up, is that right now, it's called 10 Americans. This is just one study. The average was over 272 toxins in the unborn fetus. 272. And they only tested for just about 400. Imagine if they tested for all 77,000 man-made chemicals. And why? This is in the woman's blood. It can't be fully detoxed by the liver because the body's at such a higher toxic level. Again, not disease state. We're not talking about disease. We're talking about from an underlying imbalance. I mean, that's, again, just because you have the absence of disease does not mean you're healthy. It just means you don't have a disease. That's where we've gone totally wrong with conventional medicine, is we wait for a disease to take place before we do anything. Well, before that state, there's a lot of other things that can and do go wrong. Well, what happens is then all of those toxins and heavy metals move through the placenta, through that fetal cord, and that's what they test too, the fetal cord blood. And what you end up with is a child now who starts life with more toxicity. So I'm going to take one step back. If you're having difficulty getting pregnant right now, man or woman, I recommend running 2 labs. One is the adrenal hormone lab. That will show you your cortisol levels throughout the day, and it will show you your progesterone and estrogen and testosterone and DHEA. My goal for women is to run that about 5 days to 7 days before they do get their period, day 1 of menstruation. And for men, they can run at any time of the month to see if their cortisol levels are high as well and what their testosterone is like too. All of those, that's both very important for both men and women. And the second test I would run is a hair tissue mineral analysis. That will show you the level of stress in your body from an autonomic nervous system standpoint, looking at your electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and it will also show you your levels of aluminum, mercury, arsenic, lead. It's called the hair tissue mineral analysis. We'll link them up today in the show notes. Just go to stevencabral.com/522. Simply check that out and you'll be able to see all of those show notes there, and you'll be able to see the links for those labs. So that's what I would test for. If you want to do toxicity tests, you can that's a very simple urine test. We'll link that up as well, but that's something to do. But you could also simply do something like the Dr. Cabral detox, or pick your favorite functional medicine detox. That's one way to do it as well. That will help you to rid your body of a lot of those toxins. Now, if you find yourself that you have heavy metals, then you can do a heavy metal detox, and we'll try to link that up for you as well. We just try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, that is the prenatal part of it. Now, the prenatal part of it is getting your body to a healthy state so that when you become pregnant, that it's a strong, viable pregnancy where both the mom and the baby are in great health. So about 3 months to 6 months before, you also want to be doing something like the daily nutritional support shake or the daily activated multivitamin. And besides one of those 2 choices, you would simply add 400 micrograms of a methylated folate. So just a methylfolate, and that is a non-toxic form of folic acid, because we know that about 33% of all women and men have a MTHFR gene mutation, which doesn't allow them to fully methylate folic acid to 5-methylfolate. And so it can build up in the body, and that's not a good thing. So very simple, daily activated multivitamin or the daily nutritional support shake. Or you can see on our website as well, we also have a nice prenatal by Orthomolecular, great brand as well. Okay. Again, we're all about promoting whatever is best and healthiest for humans. Besides that, remember, this is the time where you cleanse your body, the prenatal part. Doing, again, something like the Dr. Cabral detox or a detox in general, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days if you can, absolutely fantastic. Okay. Now, during perinatal, when a woman does get pregnant, what we want to do is we want to make sure we keep that multivitamin going or keep the daily nutritional support powder going, but we stop using herbs for the most part. So we don't use a lot of herbal formulas because they can push the body in certain ways. And so again, you can use herbs if it's that or medication, but typically what we're doing are vitamins and minerals. If a woman is feeling sick, we don't use echinacea. We'll use more zinc and we'll use more vitamin C. Now, can you use echinacea? Yes. But again, I'm giving you what I do with my own wife, with sister-in-laws, with every woman that I see in my practice as well. Okay? Really important. But also what we're doing is we're making sure that the body is not going on one of these crazy keto-based diets, especially not during pregnancy. Low carb during pregnancy could be one of the most insane things I've ever heard recommended. Like legitimately insane. You are asking your body now to be in a survival state when it doesn't need to be, meaning like there's carbs all over the place, but you're choosing to put your body in a famine-based state where you're only getting protein and healthy fats basically. And so now you are producing higher levels of cortisol, potentially dysregulated levels of inflammation because you feel like carbs might not be the best. Well, that is not the time to do it. You want to make sure you're getting good vegetables, root vegetables like sweet potatoes, yams, yucca, and also you're getting fruit. Now, if you're worried about the glycemic index of certain fruits or gestational diabetes or any of those things, berries. 1 to 2 cups a day of berries. Nothing wrong with that, and I can't recommend enough. Your body needs hydration, so you're going to get that with fruit as well. Smoothies are fantastic. You can put some flax seeds. You can put some good fiber in there. You need more water in your body during this time as well, taking in more water because you're also creating more blood volume, so that has to increase. Really, really important. Now, things change over the pregnancy as well, meaning like you're going to keep going with your prenatal or your daily activated multi plus the extra folate. But by the time you reach the 5th or 6th month mark, you want to also make sure that you are taking in additional iron. Really, really important. Most women in their 3rd trimester become anemic, okay, or at least functionally anemic. Blood iron levels go down. My recommendation is by month 5, you begin to take an iron product by innate response called Iron Response. And you can take this right from the very beginning if you want. Again, simply go to stephencabral.com/store, click on supplements. You'll see the prenatal package. Again, it's not our products. We're just making it easy for you. And what it does is it gives you my plan. It tells you when to take them, how to split up the vitamins. Just very, very simple. And again, if you're new to this, it's nice to split up your multivitamin through the day if you can. You'll get better absorption, better utilization, those types of things. But the nice thing about this iron-based vitamin is that it's food-based. You're not going to overdose on it, okay? And you're going to get enough iron in your body from beets, from spinach, and those types of things in this food-based vitamin without it creating free radical damage from taking like a synthetic iron. Really, really important. Plus, you can up your iron by getting in things like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, dark leafy greens. Really nice way. Great thing to do, okay? In Ayurveda, in traditional Chinese medicine, Native Americans, they ate liver too. So they ate liver essentially during pregnancy and then afterwards as well to build up their blood stores. And you might not be your thing, but you could certainly eat beets, things that are deep, dark red or black in color as in natural foods can help you build up those blood stores. Really, really important. The other thing you'll want to do is make sure that you continue to stretch to keep your hips open. You don't want a lot of that sciatic nerve pain. I'm not going to talk about as much of that today, but really important that you keep those hips open without doing any too deep massage. But massage during pregnancy is fantastic as well, unless you're just making sure that you're not going too deep as well. Really, really important. Now, preparing for a nice, healthy delivery as well, really, really important, is looking at keeping your body that last month well rested as much as you can, well hydrated, sticking with your good nutrition. And when it is time to go to the hospital or birthing center or home birth, whatever it might be, is making sure that you have everything already set up so there's less stress. Okay, really like 4 to 6 weeks before, pack that bag, and not the bag just full of clothes. Pack the bag where you want to create a setting where you're bringing that child into a nice, calm, as serene as possible environment. Really, really important. And just make sure you're set up for the next day or two, that you have all the things that you need, all the things that you like. I remember during the birth of our first daughter, we had to go in a little bit early just because of a few complications. Everything worked out great, but a few complications. And we had berries, we had all this great food, so that we also felt like we weren't too far out of our natural environment. You know, we were nourished, we were, just trying to be there to support each other during that time. And, it all worked out great. And it was really, really amazing. I'm looking back on it now. But that's one of those things that are just really, really important, vitally important. And the last thing I'll say is this. During that last month or two of pregnancy, you might want to increase your mineral intake, meaning like a good chelated-based mineral supplement to just get your mineral levels up. Because what happens is, at pregnancy, as well as now postnatal, which we're going to talk about after you do have the baby, you need to keep those prenatal vitamins going, or you need to keep your daily nutritional support shake going. You need to keep your daily activated multi going and keep your iron going. You don't have to take the extra folate now. That's not essential. You actually don't even need to take that after the first trimester, but I just say it's okay to take 800 micrograms of methylfolate going forward. Like that's okay, but you don't need to take it postnatal, post-pregnancy, okay? So now what we're looking at this part is just really making sure too that you're nourishing your body and you're hydrating. I see too many women with lactation-based issues, underproduction of milk, and what's happening is that their bodies really are just dehydrated, okay? You don't even understand the amount of water that you need to take in because of blood loss, blood rebuilding, milk production, all these things. It's just so vitally important to take that in consideration. But keep the mineral going, keep the iron going, and keep that multivitamin going for at least the next 3 months. And then 3 months after that, after those initial 12 weeks where really your body's healed by then, that's when you'll just move down to just the daily nutritional support shake. I, of course, would do the whole Dr. Ball daily protocol, which is your daily nutritional support shake with your added greens in and your probiotic. I mean, I would do that through the whole pregnancy, but again, those are my recommendations. It's all organic, all that. That keeps the body nourished. That's what keeps it fueled. That is exactly what I would do. But also post-pregnancy as well. You want to be increasing, like I just talked about in the beginning of the show, the dark foods. The dark foods are going to help rebuild the blood. And again, some of the best ones that I can just recommend are the spinach, the mustard greens, the beets, anything like blueberries, anything dark in nature. That's what's going to help you to rebuild that blood and rebuild your body as well. Really, really important. And then a lot of women say, can I do a detox post-pregnancy because I want to get rid of all that extra stuff my body's been holding on to? And my recommendation is no, not for about 8 weeks and not while breastfeeding. Really, really important. Same goes for infrared sauna, okay? Not while breastfeeding because again, although small, there's a chance some of those own toxins, though, can end up in your own milk supply. So again, I'm conservative. Like there's a lot of other naturopaths and functional medicine doctors who are a lot more aggressive. I say do a smoothie every morning, do the Dr. Ball daily protocol, allow your body to detox naturally. And again, it's not like the Dr. Ball detox isn't natural, but it's stronger. It's stronger. It's meant to make real change in your body. It's meant to knock down autoimmune. It's meant to help get rid of those skin issues, the headaches, the joint pain, the thyroid, all of those things. That's what it's meant for. You don't need that when you just gave birth. You want to just ease your body back into things. I mean, it's a big event and you want to treat it that way as well. You have plenty of time. You can do a formal detox once you're done nursing. Totally fine. Okay. So I'm not going to get into the health of the baby right now. We'll save that for another show. I hope that answered as many questions really as possible. What I did in my mind was kind of like gather up all the questions that are typically asked of me, and I just put them into this show. But of course, if I miss something, which of course there's probably one thing, two things in there that I did miss, always feel free to just go to stevencabral.com/ask Cabral. It would be my pleasure to answer your questions on this very important topic. And again, if this show can help anyone that you can think of, anyone thinking about getting pregnant, anyone pregnant right now, or anyone who just gave birth, send it along to them. Send it along to the husbands, to the wives, to the partners, to whomever it might be. Remember, it can help them, the grandparents. I really believe that this information needs to get in the hands of more women so that before they get pregnant, again, if you had a child or you're pregnant right now, I understand you can't do the detox. That would have been ideal before. That's okay. It's okay. It's not a problem, but maybe the next time that you can. And again, so if you know someone who's even thinking about getting pregnant, it's important to listen to this show to say, okay, this is why you might not be able to get pregnant right now, or we want to look for toxicity, or we want to just start detoxing the body before we start to conceive and bring a baby into this world. So thank you everyone for tuning into another Cabral Concept. I appreciate your listens as always. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com stephen.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.